because the fact that the codexes releases are staggered, GW has to release all these FAQs following all these releases. And so what you have is that you have these like quarterly updates, which just confuse the shit out of everyone. So if GW just release everything at the same time, GW can do the points adjustments all at the same time as well. And they can address all the codexes basically all at the same time. And then you have one big change, and then you can have like a smaller series or even like annual small updates to like whatever grammar mistakes that they made in the other codex. So this entire situation is due to GW. It's the fucking marketing, man. It's like, it's goddamn marketing. It's the whole marketing system is leading to an inferior product. So we're gonna watch the TacticalTortoise one, and then we're gonna watch the Morning Glory one, because I think they're both about the same subject. We may have to fast forward Mordian's one because it's 18 minutes long. Okay, let's watch this. Yeah. I think I know what he's talking about, because someone spoiled it a little bit on my other Discord. Let me know how the volume is.
Calling out Games Workshop in this video. I'm biting the proverbial hand.
Oh, it's a cat. I really want a cat. They're so freaking fluffy. But I move around way too much. Maybe when I settle on. Maybe when I settle to Australia.
Feeds me. Because large tournaments in Warhammer 40k are currently playing with fundamentally different rule sets. And I'm not talking about obscure house rules or different pairing metrics or terrain layouts between different circuits, but core army abilities are working fundamentally differently from event to event, and it's Games Workshop's fault.
Oh, you know the whole point where I keep saying it's Games Workshop gatekeeping their own franchise? Yeah, geez, like everything is Games Workshop fault. And I swear, like, a part of my conspiracy is that they keep like playing to partisan politics because it draws the attention away. Like, it's better for the community to attack each other for some random like politics thing than to them to actually unite and then, you know, actually complain about the right things.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and this week holds two of Warhammer.
Oh, by the way, before this video actually starts, I want to talk about something that's actually quite interesting. Is that OxOP is my co-host on my podcast, right? And he showed up, like he was the guy who's running the mega game, and he actually has interaction with TacticalTortoise, because back in the day, TacticalTortoise actually did commission painting. And back in the day, OxOP was not OxOP, he was Tyranids OP. So he made the Tyranids army, and he was a tournament player, and he won several Australian tournaments with his Tyranid army. And his Tyranid Titan, the Hierophant, was actually commission painted by TacticalTortoise. Unfortunately, what happened afterwards, I can tell the gist of it, but maybe when we do like the podcast again, he can tell the entire story. Basically, his entire Tyranids army went missing. I think someone stole it. So when we do the podcast again, I'll have him repeat the story. But his Hierophant was painted by TacticalTortoise.
40k's largest tournaments, the London Grand Tournament that happened last weekend, as well as this weekend's Las Vegas Open, collectively boasting almost 2,000 Warhammer 40k players. However, there is a contentious rules issue that's splitting the community regarding the game's most popular faction, that being Space Marines. Recently, Games Workshop has been releasing a new wave of Space Marine characters meant to flesh out chapters that are playable out of the core Adeptus Astartes Codex, such as Salamanders, Imperial...
Man, looking at this is so fucking frustrating. Like, Space Marines getting all these new characters, like, 3 new characters, that's enough to, like, if you give, like, a new character to the Emperor's Children, a new character to the World Eaters, and then, like, a new character to the Thousand Suns, I think Death Guard is enough characters. Like, that'll make, like, their entire faction so happy. But the fact that it's, like, a very minor release for, like, the fucking Space Marines, whereas it's, like, an entire feast for certain other factions, actually really says a lot.
And Raven Guard. And alongside each of these chapters, they're releasing new detachments that are playable with each of the sub-factions that are meant to encapsulate that faction's character and play thematically on the table.
Supplements.
But there is an issue. And if you're enfranchised within the competitive Warhammer 40k space, I'm sure
by the way, how's the volume
with this. To explain it in excruciating detail, Space Marines as a faction are split into different sub-factions. In fact, they're basically the only army in Warhammer 40k that still uses subfaction mechanics. Each of these subfactions has access to unique characters.
Yeah, so about the subfaction mechanic, it's a pain in the ass probably to write the rules, but the fact that they're actually doing this for the Space Marines probably, I feel like it's a bit of a tell. Because the fact that they kept it for the Space Marines probably meant that they intrinsically understand that the increased depth probably reinforces their popularity. But the fact that they know this fact, but they don't do the same thing to, say, Chaos, like they do not make like a Iron Warrior supplement, or they did not make like a like a Tyranid supplement or anything like that, it just means that they've been really lazy. Like they know that the fact that they do that for the Space Marines for their poster faction actually says a lot. That it's like it's what people actually like, and it keeps people in that faction. But they're just too lazy to apply it to other factions. It just feels really unfair. They used to lazy bombs, yeah.
Characters, and in some cases, special detachments and abilities. And in some cases, they're pretty banal. Crimson Fists, for example, simply uses the normal Space Marine Codex and has access to a single kind of mediocre special character. However, some of the more unique factions have access to entire additional codexes full of additional units, characters, special rules, and unique detachments available.
Yeah, like what the actual fuck? Like, so the scraps that's thrown off the Space Marine plate is more complete than, like, definitely more complete than the Emperor's Children. That is so fucking unfair. Like at a certain point, I feel like GW should know. Like, I feel like at a certain point, GW should know that after they collect Space Marines, you probably want to encourage them to play some of the newer factions. But if that faction has like nothing there, like why would you even move away from the Space Marines?
Only for that chapter. So in order to balance,
Hey yo, like what's up? Just woke up on phone. Hey, welcome.
The Codex compliance chapters.
Maybe I'm streaming too early.
The ones that only use the core Space Marine Codex, and non-compliant chapters that have their own additional supplements and extra units and things. They give the Codex compliant subfactions an enhanced version of the Space Marine Army ability. As long as you play out of a detachment that is included within Codex Space Marines, not in any of the supplemental materials, and don't include any non-compliant special units, you get +1 to wound when targeting your Oath of Moment target. Space Marines
How good is Space Marine nowadays?
At the start of each of their turns, and they get a bunch of bonuses when attacking that particular unit. They basically mark one enemy for destruction. But here's where the issue arises. These cool new detachments meant to buoy up the play rate of compliant Space Marine subfactions are not included in Codex Space Marines. Fortunately for us, there's a nice easy Codex Errata document that defines what exactly counts as Codex Space Marines in order to incorporate some of the additional...
Oh, let me guess. People are gaming the rules, so it's like the whole faction keyword stuff from 8th edition and people trying to soup their armies. That's been around forever.
Content
I'm just guessing.
Games Workshop has released since the release of the print Codex. Oops, the new detachments aren't listed in it.
Which detachments are considered to be Codex Space Marine detachments? Gladius Task Force, Anvil Siege Force, Ironstorm Spearhead, Firestorm Assault Force, Stormlands Task Force, Vanguard Spearhead. Okay. So people have been rule lawyerings and been trying to get special rules, I'm guessing.
Games Workshop even released a huge quarterly update a few weeks ago, where they go through and update all of the faction FAQs with relevant questions. And these detachments are still conspicuously absent. However, if we look at the Games Workshop app and the Munitorum Field Manual, the document that lists points for every unit and detachment enhancement in the game, these detachments are listed under the Codex Space Marines header. So are they Codex Space Marines detachments or not? And here's the heart of the issue. It's an important question that radically alters the balance of one of the game's strongest factions. Even more so considering the fact that Raven Guard are competitively extremely strong if you give them this buff against their Oath of Moment target. And we simply don't know how it's meant to work. So we run into a situation like the one we're experiencing this week, where two of the game's largest tournaments have...
LVO FAQ. Are the new Space Marines detachment, Shadowmark, Talon, etc. considered Codex Space Marine detachments? Yes for both. Well, the detachment considered to be Codex Space Marine detachments do I refer to... Okay, so one is yes and one is no. Alright. I mean, this is actually quite troubling because that's going to be drastically different from how the entire army is played. And for some of these professional, oh man, I was about to call them gamers, but is that even the right word? I mean, yeah, technically, yeah. I mean, they are gamers, right? Like if you play 40k, I guess technically you are a gamer. Or would you say a player? I think a player would be more fair. I know they're trying to turn it into esports, but I think players probably. Oh no, they like to refer to themselves as pilots. Never mind. Yeah, that's a very drastic change, and I'm gonna keep saying this. Like fucking GW trying to, they're the biggest gatekeepers to their own hobby.
Come down on either side of the question, demonstrably
Sounds
changing
yeah.
the metagame for each tournament.
I think you can say the actual G word.
Rules question like this has arisen. In that most recent update I mentioned just a moment ago, a Tyranny unit was entirely omitted from the Munitorum field manual. It simply does not exist in the document, implying that it has been made illegal for matched play. Is that the case?
No, the person running the website needs to be awake. Because the Horus Heresy PDF is probably still down. Legends. Yep. Is it still down? I'm gonna keep bringing it up like every single week, every single stream. If this thing is down, yeah, you know what? It's still down. What week is this? This is week 7. Someone in GW just don't give a fuck.
Or is this just a typo? Who knows?
Bro, I told you, of course I know where it is. I don't need it right now. I'm just saying that it should not be down. Like that shit from $1 million company, this shit should not happen. Like a person, sorry. What the fuck? Oh, but OBS stopped working for a little bit. I think I reconnected. I think everything's good now. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It's the first time that's ever happened. Let me check my YouTube. Yeah, let me check my YouTube. Just in case. I think we're still live on YouTube. That's fine. Alright, that's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, so I know what you're saying is that the document is still out there somewhere. You can still access it from the GW site. I'm just saying that for a $7 billion company, it's a very bad look if you go into the main Warhammer community website. Here are these giant icons. You think the information is there. You click onto it and you get this. And it's been that way for 3 or 4 months now. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Even now, the community is wrestling with another question that fundamentally alters how triggered abilities are meant to be resolved, with the only relevant official communication coming from an alleged conversation with a
We don't allow it in opens WCW. I got no idea what these things are. AOC plus smoke is the most visible casualty of the much deeper hole of how do just after abilities work. If you ask 99% of people, they'll likely tell you that AOC plus smoke works fine. And if you ask these people, it's fucking tournament players like rule lawyering is way too much. You know, the ironic thing about this is that when you play a casual game, the rules don't really matter. It's more flexible. So in one phrase, it's just people making shit up in the casual game. And then you go to a tournament game, and then imagine that the rules are so confusing that even the tournament people are just making shit up. They're just making shit up. They're just interpreting like what they feel is correct. And we just really just all playing casual games because I feel like 40k should not really translate to a tournament game, like at all. Like it was never meant to be run as a competitive game. And when you have something that was never made to be a competitive game and you're just trying to shoehorn like this whole competitive aspect into it, like all this shit is just gonna happen. And like don't even talk about like whether Warhammer is meant to be a competitive game or not. Like don't even talk about the philosophy of that. I don't think GW is competent enough to make a competitive product. That's the core of the issue. They can probably make a competitive 40k. They can probably make it like competition ready. But you've got 18 factions in Warhammer 40k. You have 18 factions in Warhammer 40k. Even Blizzard failed to try and like balance StarCraft 2, and that shit has 3 factions in it. I don't think GW is that competent. And if GW actually wants to fix everything, they probably need to actually like have like tighter set of rules. So either let the tournaments like come up with everything, try to have them do their whole like rules for them. So, kind of like now, or actually just hire like a proper rules writing team. Maybe extend the editions a little bit more, have that shit sorted before before jumping onto the marketing cycle. Also, I got no clue what the video we're watching about. Okay, so basically, so this video, you don't play like 40k on the tabletop. So basically, this is just talking about like some random rule bullshit in 40k. Space Marines breaking shit. And I got a bot. So I need to get rid of this guy. There we go. It could be, but they would have to playlist enough to know how the rules work in specific circumstances. Yeah, so I think there's 3 main aspects as to why this does not really work. Is that number 1, I think Warhammer 40k was not really made to be a competitive game in the first place without losing all its identity. Number 2 is that I don't think GW is actually competent enough to make a viable competitive, viable competitive product in the sense that it's a game meant for tournament play. And fuck, what's number 3? Shit. Fuck, I forgot what number 3 is. Never mind, let's go.
World Championship judge via grainy Discord DM screenshots for an issue that would affect literally every faction in the entire game. That's insane. At the time of recording, we are just passing 6 weeks since the first of these Codex-compliant detachments, Forge Father Seekers, was released. Although in reality, I don't think it was made legal for matched play until a week or so later, so let's call it an even month. That's a full month for the powers that be to either add these detachments to the FAQ document or alter the Munitorum field manual document so it doesn't imply that they should be placed in the list of chapter detachments. And yet, we've gotten radio silence. No communication one way or another, leaving it up to tournament organizers to independently determine the answer to what can be
GW just gatekeeps.
Question.
They're the biggest gatekeepers.
Some of these TOs of large tournaments that
the responsible party for gatekeeping for the K is GW.
Have informed them that the detachment.
I just woke up, so my brain is still booting. It's fine. It's almost 12 a.m. That's why my brain is almost sleeping.
Should benefit from an enhanced army rule, and that their omission from the FAQ document is a mistake. However, hearing that secondhand is about as good as grainy Discord screenshots, and not a very appropriate way for a multi-million-dollar company to communicate with its player base. Now, in fairness, I think it's acceptable for mistakes to be made in the game. Warhammer 40k is an enormous engine, and rules, issues, typos, or imbalances are gonna work their way in eventually. However, it's up to the team and their parent company to fix them promptly, rather than leaving it weeks on end for these open questions to just circle around the community. One of the largest criticisms of the current state of Warhammer 40k's rules is that they update too rapidly. And
I feel like whenever they, with how competitive 40k is now, like most people play 40k if they're on the tabletop. I think a lot of them play it for the tournament. I think every time they bring out new rules, they need to be on hand. Like they need like almost like a call center or like an FAQ team or something, to be on hand for the first few weeks to just answer these kind of questions. And honestly, they're not even like big questions, right? These are not like it's not like a giant deluge of how to answer questions. I feel like it's just the core principles. Like, when you stack effects, which one comes after the other? That kind of question. And once you have like once you have the formula settled, then I think everything kind of falls into place. But I feel like maybe there's not enough. But you think that the people who wrote the rules will know how to answer that question. So if you actually wrote the rules, you'll be like, yeah, okay, so this is how it works. But I feel like the only reason why that's not the case is that they have not considered it. So that's why they cannot answer it. And the only reason why they have not considered it is that they have not play tested it. We had that, by the way. Yeah, we did. Like, you could just used to be able to go on Facebook and then just ask them about certain role interactions and they'll give you an answer. But there are so many, I think they still do, but the thing is that there are so many like random layers. The issue is that it's not unified. So you sometimes have situations where the answer you get from the app contradicts like the FAQ, which contradicts the people who are answering you on Facebook. Multiplications first followed by addition. Yeah. No, they were talking about like other specific rules, like with like the interactions with smokescreen and like whatever, like arm of contempt, like really weird stuff like that. So for this, it says, I'm still new to 40k, want to ask something. Why do the rules for this game constantly change? All right, so let's go. So let's go back real bit because I have something to actually talk about here as well.
For these open questions to just circle around the community. One of the largest criticisms of the current state of Warhammer 40k's rules is that they update too rapidly, and I absolutely understand that. Changes that dramatically alter unit or army rules are made on a quarterly basis, and the points values assigned to those units are often in near constant flux, speeding the pace.
So about that, I don't think it's really a bad thing. I don't think it's really a bad thing. I remember like around 7th edition, before the new CEO when Tom Kirby was still the CEO, and people really hated him. They really hated GW, and it was for a while, it almost felt like GW is gonna fall apart. Because we had stuff like War Machine that was actually more popular. I think everyone like around that period knew about War Machine and how popular it was at that time. And that actually looked like it was going to supplant Games Workshop. And everyone fucking hated Tom Kirby because under his leadership, there was no updates, there were no communication, there was no social media presence, there were definitely no FAQs. And so things that were broken, like the detachments and stuff like Eldar flyers, just remained broken for the entire edition. So, like, in the way, I feel like it's like what we have now is almost like GW being self-aware that, okay, we suck at writing rules. People are going to, this game is headed towards like a more esportsy kind of scene. And so we can't have something that's broken forever. Otherwise, our entire market would just break apart. So they're just self-aware enough that they have to release like a patch every 4 months to keep the game afloat. And yeah, it's a really shit thing. And ideally for a $7 billion company, they get things right, like 90% of the things right properly the first time. But at the same time, like it's like making the best out of a shit sandwich, really. Easy answer, GW has no idea what they're doing and the game has massive flaws and always had, and the amount of crap that's broken, they're just stirring the pot so that the flaws don't swim. Okay, and I'll add something to what you're saying. Is that they already have a situation with the rules writing, right? But I feel like it's partially poisoned as well by marketing. Because you can tell that their marketing team has been either... The most gracious way to put this is that they identify a problem, so they market certain units to solve that problem. Now, if I was a conspiratorial person, if I'm a person who likes making conspiracies, I would even say that GW specifically creates problems and then sell you the solving units to that problem. So now there's like several layers of shit going on where one, they're just incompetent. Two, the game is probably a bit too big for them and people take it way too seriously. And number three is that you have the marketing team trying to take advantage of the psychology within competitive play and trying to leverage that to sell more units. They did that with the Primaris Marines and they definitely did. Like the Primaris Marines with 2 wounds for like 21 points and then I think the normal Marines were 18 points. I remember there was like literally like for a 20% increase, you had double the points. Flyers were so OP, so all Primaris vehicles had N-tier. Yeah, stuff like that as well. And then there were other stuff like transhuman rules were really good. So certain units had transhuman physiology where they cannot be wounded under 4+. And that was like almost game breaking. It was so good. And then GW started like giving transhuman physiology rules to basically everything new that was coming up. Yeah. Yeah, I remember in 7th, they tried to steer you, like, certain detachments and certain builds were so good, it was almost like the marketing department, like, steering you towards, like, a certain product list that they want you to buy. So imagine like the psychopath that was coming up with that shit, breathing down the neck of the people who want to do the rules, and the people who want to do the rules are about as competent as fucking Ralph Wiggums. And do you see how like this entire issue is like evolving? And you know, at the same time, while it's really shit, I'm just like things are still staying together. Like there's still something like that's cohesively like putting everything together. Like there's some cohesion going on, because it's not like such a disaster where in certain other games where like I don't know, fuck man, how the shit does this even happen? Like with other game companies like War Machine and all that, like when they fuck up, and then the entire franchise just dies. How the hell does GW, like, what is happening with GW where they just make multiple fuck ups? Like, they're like the Titanic, but somehow the Titanic has been able to just, like, survive, like, 10 multiple icebergs, and it still makes it to America. The GW is basically the Titanic, but it does not sink. It keeps hitting icebergs, but the fucker is not sinking. The lore. Yeah, I actually say, yeah, I agree with you. It's the lore. It's literally the lore. They have an IP and not just a game. No, you guys are absolutely correct. And that's the point I was trying to build up to. You can still enjoy the universe without the model. You guys are absolutely correct. That is the right answer. And guess what? And now GW has been trying to drive that Titanic. We'll call that the Olympus. They're now trying to sink the Olympus. Let me get some water, man. Yeah, because for the people who don't know, the Titanic is a sister ship called the Olympus, which survived World War One. And so the Titanic has sunk, and now they're trying to sink the sister ship. That's a bad metaphor I'm trying to allude to. War Machine did not have that luxury. War Machine aesthetics was really good as well. Like the War Machine stuff, that was really fun. I did not like the card system, but I can appreciate the models.
Formative changes would simply drive players away. And if anything, I'd prefer to see these large sweeping balance updates or core rules alterations be made less frequently to make the game more legible.
I think frequently is fine. I think frequently is fine. That's just that the you know what, maybe less frequently is fine. I'd rather they have it right the first pass, but with all their releases and with the fact that the codex are written 2 or 3 years before whatever we have now, they're basically trying to do their best to project the rules in the future and write rules for that. So in accounting for that, I think, you know, with the fact that the codex releases every single month, look, if the codexes if the codexes release all at the same time, then I think it is possible for GW to just make one FAQ and balance everything at the same time. Would that be correct? Because the fact that the codexes releases are staggered, GW has to release all these FAQs following all these releases. And so what you have is that you have these like quarterly updates, which just confuse the shit out of everyone. So if GW just release everything at the same time, GW can do the points adjustments all at the same time as well. And they can address all the codexes and basically all at the same time. And then you have one big change, and then you can have like a smaller series or even like annual small updates to like whatever grammar mistakes that they made in the other codex. No, so this entire situation is due to GW. It's the fucking marketing, man. It's just goddamn marketing. It's the whole marketing system is leading to an inferior product. Was that with them having one team making codexes instead of 4 or 5 and the baseline to upload? Yeah. Or maybe they just not release them all at the same time. Just release them in like bundles. So like 1 month and 1 month, they just release maybe like just 18 factions, right? Number of Warhammer 40k factions. Oh, 27. Holy shit, I was way out. I thought it was... where did 18 come from? So, 27 factions, you can probably release 6 factions at a time. And... can you imagine all the patches that you have to do, like, after every single update? Because when the codex release, they wait a month and need to do the points update. And then after the points update, they have the balance update. Can you see how confusing this shit is? But it's great for marketing because if you do it this way, you have something every single month to just hype up. And then it dilutes the entire pool, so certain people will just be like, you know what, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm kind of bored of playing Imperial Guard. I don't know where my faction is coming out, so I feel like Bob over there is having really a lot of fun with his Custodes army, so maybe I should just get into Custodes. I know the entire psychological trick, but it's really just leading to like an inferior product and an inferior experience overall. And I think at the end of the day, I don't know how much the effect this will actually, like, I don't know how this will actually affect the entire community, but I feel like it's entirely their fault.
To a less enfranchised player. However,
we live in a society, Batman.
Rules are written ambiguously to the point that massive tournament organizational corporations are making entirely contradictory rulings on the same verbiage. That shit needs to be patched immediately. It's frankly unacceptable.
No card players ever sick of card. I think I triggered you by saying that, right? We just add more random shit to our list. True. Until GW just legends half your list. I still can't believe they legended the basic...
acceptable for such questions to be open for as long as they are, especially given the fact that, unlike some more nuanced or minor issues, with the amount of community debate and discourse...
Wait, by the way, I just realized something. Is he... Bro, his fucking hair... Hang on. I don't like it when people have the same hair as me.
Question, there's no way that the developers are unaware of it. And I want to be clear as well, I don't believe this is an issue that is affecting only the competitive community. It creates an open
we both have like the
players who are also using these rules. A new pre-game discussion.
I think mine is longer though. His is like neater and shorter. Mine's longer and just
understanding or a experience if that's not established beforehand.
Keep cards away from my plastic and resin. It's too late for that. You already have mission cards. What are you talking about? Hair racism, hairism, yeah.
One player thinking that you're using the enhanced army rule and one player thinking that you're not is going to create contention, which is the last thing you want in a casual game. Now, we don't know for sure the reason behind the reticence of Games Workshop to update the broken language in their game. I do have a suspicion
that hang on. I cut my thumb. Let's go back a bit. Because I do like his videos.
In a casual game. Now, we don't know for sure.
Free blood for the blood god. I will actually put my thumb over like my white painted bar models if I stop bleeding.
Brand projection that's being exercised by the game's corporate controllers to allow more than
sorry, man.
And a casual game. Now, we don't know for sure going to create contention, which is the enhanced army rule, and one player thinking that you're not is going to create contention, which is the last thing you want in a casual game. Now, we don't know for sure.
I don't actually agree with that because in the casual game, most people will just talk about the rules. Like, in the casual game, people will just be like, oh, we're doing this thing this way. Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. I don't think people will be going for gotchas in the casual game. There's a lot more communication. Whereas in the tournament game, people just assume that you know what you're going to do. And then if you don't, I guess that's a gotcha problem. And, you know, that's your lesson for the next time, bucko. So, like, I don't know why he's mentioning casual play. Like, everything he's mentioned up to this point has been like a tournament-specific thing. It's just people being like way too rules lawyery, and then the poor freaking TOs will have to try and define what the hell. They'll have to try to define what's normal, basically.
The reason behind the reticence of Games Workshop to update the broken language.
These dedicated heretic players, some actually commits blood sacrifice to Korn. You know, I used to play airsoft, and I have actual blood on my airsoft gear. Like, for some reason, people keep shooting my fingers, and I've had situations where like a fingernail will just split, or I take like BBs into my finger and it breaks the skin. So I've got like random. I used to have like random like MP5s and MP7s with like actual blood like smeared all over it and just dried up. And it's not even on purpose. Like by the time sometimes around then, like by the time I walk out of the CQB area, like the blood just dries, and it wouldn't like once blood dries, it doesn't want to come off.
In their game, I do have a suspicion that there's a level of brand protection.
Yeah, I need to wear. Yeah, I should have started wearing like hand protectors, but at the same time, like. When shit happens once, you're just like, what's the chance of it happening again? But for me, it's just like me constantly rolling ones.
Exercised by the game's corporate controllers to allow more than quarterly
it does hurt though.
Updates.
Like I cut on the thumb, like it's really distracting.
Of players who complain that the rules update too often or too confusing, and admit that Warhammer is a flawed system, which couldn't possibly be true. If that's the case, however, it is a direct attack on player experience in service of the bottom line. After all, these are
I can agree with that.
Who mandate a codex release cycle and 3-year edition updates to sell more largely useless hardcover books. A cycle that constantly creates well-constructed and interesting metagames before sweeping it all in the trash to dump a power-craft hack job of a codex onto the metagame or introduce.
Yes, I completely agree with what he's saying. The codex are massive part of this issue. If all the codexes all come out at the same time, everything can be FAQ'd at the same time, and then you'll have basically like the entire 3-year period for a edition feels really bad as well, just purely due to the codex. I think the codex release system does need an entire rework, and I think can just easily be reworked as like I think a really good argument for why a codex should exist would be that it's a very good starting point for a new player in terms of the lore. But after that, I think maybe just throw in like I used to say that throw in like a code for an app is a good idea, but some people do like the actual feel of the codex, like flipping through the pages. It's a very D&D kind of thing. People like to flip around pages for rules. So I don't want to take that away from them, but at least maybe just release them all at the same time and maybe split the books.
Meaningless.
So the codex right now has like a hobby aspect, and you know what? Just don't do that. Even split the books is more working for GW. I actually want to help GW. I actually want to help GW to make a better product. Not trying to be like a shill or anything. I actually want what's best for GW. So. I get what's best for me. I don't hate GW enough for GW to actually think like it's like Batman and the Joker. It's like the Batman and the Joker. I'm the Joker, and I'm like, you know what? What am I without you? I wouldn't have a channel. I won't have things to bitch about. I won't have like a game to play in my free weekends. I want GW to do well. But at the same time, I think they deserve all the criticism and they should be criticized. And so, you know what? I'll make it easier for them. Just release everything at the same time. Just release all the codexes at the same time. I think it's better for everyone.
Rules rewrites that break the careful.
Have all the codexes released digitally at the same time and release the codex physically whenever. Yeah, that's a good idea as well. So people can pick and choose. It's just that physically, actually just thinking more about it, like if the rules are wrong anyway, will anyone really just flip through the pages? Like if the rules are not correct, if the rules are just patched out on first day, sometimes codex is just released and they're just immediately out of date. Will anyone really be flipping through that shit anyway? So you know what? We can decide on that later. Just release everything at the same time. Just release everything at the same time. We'll think about it later. Just release everything at the same time. Get it patched out. all at once, and then we'll have 3 years to figure this shit out instead of like 6 months at the end. That's why the end of the edition always feels the best, because everything is out, all the cards on the table, everything is fixed, and then you have that like glorious like 3 or 4 months before the edition ends where everything just works out really well, everyone's having fun, and then next edition, which is going to be the 11th edition, is just going to fuck everything up again. Use superglue, it's what it's made for. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. One thing I dislike about the codex, I can't see the sheets from my allied units on the app. Yeah.
Fully constructed Jenga tower of
we had indexes in the style of 8, it was great, it worked, it was fun. And you know what, just to build up on that, we had the indexes for the 10th edition as well. You remember when the 10th edition came out, and then all the, before the first codex dropped, we had all the updated indexes for every single faction, so technically everyone did have rules immediately from the get-go. It just dropped at the same time. And the style of 10th actually, like, there was some jank with the core rules, obviously, but the style of 10th actually did feel pretty good. There was no, like, war gear or anything like that, but in terms of how it kind of felt, it actually felt, it wasn't bad.
In order to justify a new edition. This corporatism is a double-edged sword. It's the reason that Warhammer 40k has been able to grow large enough to run 1,000-plus player tournaments. But it's also the biggest thing holding the game back from being truly great. And that simply sucks. So I think we have to hold Games Workshop accountable for issues like these. It's simply not acceptable for a community as large as them to withhold updates like this that repair rules problems. In no way am I asking for more frequent datasheet reworks, balance updates, or core rules rewrites. I just want Games Workshop to fix their shit when they break it. And I don't think that's too much to ask. So with that, that's all I have to say about this issue. I've talked about this Space Marine issue many times on stream and in videos in the past, and I'm tired of talking about it, so I'm just not going to do that. I'll just forward people to this video if it ever comes up in the future. Ultimately, I think this issue is actually kind of minor. It's sort of a symptom of the larger problem of reticence to fix mistakes that the Games Workshop team has made. And as I said before, I think it's okay for the team to make mistakes. That just means they're moving fast and breaking things. They still have to fix those things when they break them. But anyway, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Thanks as well to everybody who supports TacticalTortoise.
You know what the thing is that I feel like sorry. You know what the thing is that I feel like 11th edition is coming up anyway, so GW is just like, whatever. It's kind of like in holiday mode. They can just do whatever. You just don't really give a shit until 11th comes out. You know what? It would be a better idea if they just let even more stuff break. Because the shittier 10th edition gets, up to like a point, the better 11th will look. Because they will be like, oh, look, 11th. They can do all the, dear players, we hear you. We heard that 10th was shit. And here are 3 ways of how 11th is not shit. It gives them that hook. It gives them the opportunity to do that whole marketing spiel. So, you know what? I just feel like maybe they're just breaking shit on purpose at the end of 10th. Then again, maybe it's too much of a conspiracy Andy.